Okay, so this is 4 out of 5. It is a good evening, a lovely evening. So today I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. Among the people who, how do I put them? So they're people who aren't really into money stuff, like wealth related stuff, and they always refer to me as like the money guy. That's how I'm known. I don't know. I probably shouldn't be known as the money guy. There are far better people than me, but there's a concept that helped me a pretty long time ago, and I'm going to share that here now. And that is, it was an old friend of mine. He said this to me probably 2 years ago, something like that, 2 or 3 years ago. So he kind of broke this up into three different little sections. So, section one, oh, yeah, by the way, these are like different ways to handle money. Section one is basically being an accountant. So, this is where you track everything, you're recording everything, you're running statistics, all that kind of garbage. You're an accountant. So that's one way to like deal with money, manage money, have something involving with money. That's number one. Can I back up so my hands can be seen? My hands are way too big. Well, whatever. I'll just do it for the sake of me and not for the sake of you. Can't read my body language. That's good, right? Yeah, great. Number two is something involving you. It's something that usually involves a skill. So this is like flipping a house, right? I always tie things to real estate because that's where I was originally trained. And I think it's easy to comprehend because we understand the idea of flipping a house, right? I buy it at this amount, I put this much into it, and then I sell it for whatever, right? And ideally, I do this in like 2 months, a month, whatever, however long it takes. I mean, it does matter, but it doesn't matter, right? So the idea is, maybe I only have to put like 30K into it or 40K into it or something. Depends on the project, right? You're probably going to be looking more like 50 or 60, all things considered. But you'll pull out like 50K in profit at the end of it, right? That's sort of the idea behind that. And other skills work that way too. But the principle behind it is I can do something that utilizes my time, and I can use that to create a freaking huge return on whatever money is being invested, right? So marketers do this. If you own a business, that's what you're doing. E-commerce people, this is what they're doing. Um, yeah, it's basically working for money, except it's your skill, and it is whatever you have inside of you that you're utilizing in order to make a ton of money for yourself. And the third one was basically passive money, right? Passive assets. And when I was being taught this, he was basically telling me specialize in one of those things. Find a way to make yourself valuable in one of those three things, and you'll make it. In one way or another, you're going to make it. And I think it was good for me to break those things apart. And I think he taught me a lot of other things too. But it was eye opening knowing that things like stocks and like I'm going to invest in real estate like long term, like rentals and stuff. The the really safe investments, the sort of boring like I make 10% a year or whatever, right? So stocks, even options to an extent, real estate, all those things are much more on the passive line, that third phase where it's largely money that you're not really doing anything for. Um, because that's what I thought investing was. When I back then when I was like, oh, investing, I have to invest my money. I just like buy a stock, right? That's what you do. You just like buy a house. I think that's how it works. But understanding the difference between those two things, passive money and the money that you're actually working for and putting forth effort for in one way or another. If you're in sales, you can make a ton of money in a very short period of time by just calling people, right? But the fact remains, you're utilizing your skill that you've developed. You're making a shitload of money off of it. So I think a lot of people haven't really made that distinction, because when they think about what do I invest in, they're basically like, what stock do I buy? And it's like, no, dude, don't, like, you should probably focus on the second one, because that's going to get you where you want to go a hell of a lot faster than like fucking 15% a year, right? Like, whatever, right? Some people can like double their money in a matter of months, which is preferable if you can do that. It's way better than a job too. Like, I'll make, maybe later I'll make an entire like fucking series on this whole idea of just being an employee and the whole employee mindset and all that nonsense. It's horrible, and it's just a giant drain on your soul, and I'd never recommend it to anyone. But anyways, I just thought that would be a good thing to share. It's good to try to fit yourself into that number 2 position where you have some kind of skill that you can offer. I mean, I'm really, really new to all internet money stuff, but even if you're not tapping into internet money stuff, you can still call companies around you, right? Like, physical companies still exist, and they're still great. In fact, I would venture to say, and I don't know this from experience, mind you, this is a complete fucking shot in the dark. It seems to me, I seem to see a lot more companies that are physical. I don't know if this makes sense or not, but like a landscaping company, for instance, right? So a landscaping company, building that to 7-8 figures is a lot easier than building some kind of online business to 7 or 8 figures. That's what it seems like to me anyways. It's because it's so easy and so straightforward. All you have to do is get more customers, right? And get more workers. That's pretty much all you have to do. Maybe you have to hire a manager and, all that fun stuff. But you see a lot of these landscaping companies and any kind of real estate, really. Pick your skill, pick your trade in real estate. It's electric, plumbing, whatever. You can quickly build that to even 7 figures. And to me, it seems a lot easier to transition into the 8-figure realm than it is with online stuff. I could be wrong about that. I mean, it's not like I don't know. It's a complete, I'm talking out my ass pretty much, but it's what I seem to observe. I'll say that. But that being said, if you were going to develop a skill, I would either develop sales, that can be translated anywhere. Honestly speaking, in making videos, like what I'm doing right now, what I'm practicing doing right now, that's a really valuable skill. That's an insanely valuable skill, and it translates pretty much everywhere. Just like sales. Sales translates pretty much everywhere too. And more generalized kind of marketing stuff, like what would you call it? It's almost like interior design. Again, everything in my mind always goes back to fucking real estate. But just like design in general, and having taste and knowing what looks good and like knowing what colors match. And I know that this font looks like garbage and I want to use this font. Like, you would think that that's not a difficult thing to know, but there's a lot of nuances to it. And you'd be surprised how poor of taste so many people have. And they don't know it. And they'll do awful stuff. Like the very first flip that I ever did, this guy taught me how to flip, and oh my god, I sort of knew it when we were doing it, but man, he had the worst taste I'd ever seen, ever. There's like no color coordination at all. There's no like style coordination or anything. It was just miserable. But that's a skill. That's an actual skill. Like, people don't know how to make things tasteful and make things pretty. That is actually a skill. It's a valuable one too. It's a very valuable one. Anyway, that was I was thinking about that today because I was referred to as like the wealth guy, and I don't know, I just don't see myself that way. I guess I'm obsessed with it, but I don't know. When you get on Twitter, man, you just get humbled. That's all there is to it. There's so many people out there who are so freaking just brilliant and just wild and amazing. Anyway, it's freaking late and I'm pretty freaking tired. This has gone on for 10 minutes. God damn. All right. Well, that's this one. Oh, yeah. Also, I found out that Periscope's a pain in the ass. And I'm not going to be able to link it to that thread. I don't know. Maybe I'll just YouTube all of these. It doesn't really matter. It's not that big of a deal.